How many programming languages do you need to know in order to be considered a successful software engineer? Well, let me reverse that a little bit. How many programming languages do you need to know to be successful in your software engineering career? Today, I'm going to share with you my thoughts on how many you should learn to start with and how many most programmers end up learning in their career. Before we get to it though, you know the drill. We need to go get coffee. Let's go, come on. Okay, wait. Before I head out, actually, we need to talk about the Interact conference. It is a free virtual conference that I will be attending and I want to see you there. I attended the last conference and one of the best things about it is you get to learn from the top engineering leaders. And what I really found helpful is it was kind of like a day full of mentorship and guidance from some of these incredible leaders that you wouldn't get to typically hear speak otherwise, especially all packed into one day. Also, there are two tracks that you can focus on at the conference. One is Dev Interrupted, where you will listen to stories of failure, redemption, panels featuring the biggest names in engineering leadership. This track has insights, processes, and really lots of know-hows on how to turn engineers into leaders and companies into unicorns. Then the second track, or the other track, is Linear Beyond. Learn about tactical practices, insights, and success stories that Linear B customers have used to transform their value delivery pipeline. Okay, I keep on mentioning engineering leaders that will be speaking at this conference. Who are they?
Some of them include Rukmini Reddy, who is the SVP of Engineering at Slack, Charity Majors, CTO and co-founder at Honeycomb, and Lewis Tuff, the VP of Engineering at blockchain.com.
And there are so many more. Make sure to check it out. I linked it down in my bio so you can check out who is speaking. One thing I like to do before conferences is really check out who's speaking and then also to think of ways to follow up with them after the conference. It's a great way to kind of, start a conversation. You heard them speak, you really appreciated certain points that they made, and then kind of open that conversation up. That's just a little side tip. Also, speaking of networking and mentorship, there is a live event to connect with speakers and other audience members. So if you are there, make sure to come say hi to me virtually. And you get access to the Dev Interrupted Discord channel. This is a great way to also interact with other engineering leaders. Now, a question I get asked a lot is, do I have to be an engineering leader in order to attend this conference? The answer is no. No matter if you are currently an engineering leader, midway in your career, just starting out, this is a conference that you will find a lot of value from. I linked it down below. Go sign up today. Did I mention it's free? And come say hi. Okay, let's go. Okay, we are on our way to the co-working space and of course to get some coffee, some much needed coffee. Coffee and code, or coffee and tech in general, they go hand in hand in my opinion. I'm curious though, are you a coffee drinker or are you more of a tea person? Do we have tea drinkers in the audience here? Let me know. Okay, let's get to the question here though. How many programming languages do you need to know as a software engineer? And I'm gonna answer this in a few stages. The first one being how many you need to know when you are starting out looking for your first job. Second part I'm going to answer is throughout your career, how many do you need to know? Because that changes as you grow in your career. Okay, one thing though I should know before we even get into this video is how many programming languages do I know? So I'm gonna share with you how many whoa, we got bright quickly here. For myself for programming languages, the first one I learned was JavaScript, and honestly, it was a really good first programming language to learn for me. I think if I was to start all over again, it might be Python that I would learn first, but JavaScript was the first one I learned. I was learning the MERN stack, so Mongo, Express, React, and Node. And after that, I spent a lot of time with JavaScript. I ended up focusing mainly on the front end with React side of things and absolutely loved it. Then as I progressed in my career, there was some requirements to do PHP. So I did PHP full time. I was really nervous to dive into PHP because it does have a bad rap. I think it's a great programming language actually, but it doesn't have the best reputation in the tech industry, I find, especially when you're starting out. People are like, oh, PHP. But once you grow in your career, I think it's a really, really great language to learn, and it's used in so many different areas that it's a really important one to learn as well. Then as I progressed further in my career, I wanted to pick up Python, and this wasn't because it was required in my job, but it was required, wasn't required, but it was something that I was super interested in. It's very popular, and I knew it was a skill or a language I really wanted to know. So I did the self-teaching method. At that point, it was really easy because I had already picked up 2 other languages. Now, I want to take a second to note here that when going back to JavaScript, when I was working my last job at IBM, I was on the consulting side, so I was doing a lot of projects for different companies, which really meant working in different tech stacks. So the main one I was working with for a framework was Angular, but also there was some React as well. And then on the side, I was tinkering, I would say, with Vue a little bit, not so much anymore, but I found that as I progressed in my career, whether it be for my day job or even through, finding resources and learning for this channel, for my tech channel, it slowly became less about learning new programming languages and more about learning new frameworks, especially with JavaScript. But that's just the way I preferred to grow. It doesn't mean it's the way you have to go. Going back to how many programming languages do you need to know? If you are just starting out, start out with one programming language, and there might be some debate around this, I find, but I think starting out with one, typically, there's always different use cases, is a really good way to go because you want to focus on learning the fundamentals. You want to focus on learning the basics, and what that will do is if you are able to really grasp that, later on in your career, when it's required to learn more languages, it'll be easier to pick up because you actually have a strong foundation versus you skimmed the fundamentals and went straight to a programming framework. The next question I get asked is, well, what programming language to learn first? And it really depends on what you want to be programming, what you want to be building. So I'm going to list more generic ones, overall, overarching, but take this with a grain of salt in the situation of depending on what you want to learn. So if I was to go all over again, I would learn, as I mentioned, probably Python first, but other great ones to learn first would include JavaScript or I would say Java. Those are the three main ones if you are going the self-teaching route that are something that you can learn on your own and easily pick up. And there's a lot of resources online about them, which really helps too. Also, if you're wondering, Tiff, why aren't you going to your co-working space? I thought you were getting coffee and going there. I got locked out, so we're just going for a walk around Toronto and talking and walking. A very casual, friend, intimate way of doing this video, which I love. Okay, so as I just said, one programming language to start with. Now, as you grow in your career, does that change, or can you just focus on one programming language? And the quick answer is yes, you can focus on just one programming language and really dive deep into that. For example, I had a coworker who they had been programming for 10 plus, no, not 10, that wouldn't make sense. They were programming for a very long time. All they focused on was JavaScript and React. And it was right when React came out. How many years was that when React came out? But anyways, right when it came out till now, they went hard on React. They love React. You can ask them anything about it and they will know. And that's kind of them going really deep into one. They have zero interest in taking a job or a project though that would require learning a different framework or programming language. So that's definitely one way to go, really deep into one. There can be some downsides to that, such as if you're not willing to even be flexible or consider, you might be missing out on some opportunities, but on the other hand, some companies might really, really want someone who's a very deep specialist in that. So it's not a negative or positive. I think it's just a preference thing. And for me anyways, I never went that way because I'm way too curious. I love exploring different languages and frameworks. The other way to go though is more like what I did, where you are growing in your software engineering career, and naturally, as you go from company to company over time, it will be required to pick up different programming languages. And when I was looking online and I did a little poll actually, texting some of my software engineering friends who I've worked with in the past, and said, how many programming languages do you know? Not tinkered around with, but like actually know. And on average, it was around 2 to 3. I would say closer to 3 for most. And they are mainly individuals who are midway through their career, so still have a lot of growth to do. So maybe that will change as they grow. But what I find is that really depends on how you grow in your software engineering career, which I mean, you can go senior engineer and continue to grow and be coding your entire career, but more often than not, we see that software engineers end up kind of evolving with their roles as their career grows as well. And I think that's why the number 3 is a good number for typically on average the number of programming languages that a software engineer will know really in depth. Now, as I mentioned, there's a ton of different caveats to this that you could include, but I would say on average, based on my research, about 3. Now, I don't want that to stress you out though. If you are starting out in your career, it doesn't mean that you have to know everything right away. Please do not take this as that, but it's more something I was just curious about. How many programming languages do most developers know? Actually, on that note, Leave in the comments how many years you have been a programmer for or been coding for, and how many languages you know. Once again, not just like tinker around with, but really know. Okay, I hope you found this video very helpful in a fun and casual way. I really wanted to connect with you on this topic, and there's no right or wrong answer to this. This is just based on my research, what I've learned, and my experience. I think more than anything, to have a successful career as a software engineer and continue to evolve, it's being open to it's being, oh my goodness, you can tell I needed that coffee. It's being open to experiencing and learning new things. I think that's the most important thing of all. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, as I mentioned earlier, leave in the comments what programming languages you know, how many you know, and if you haven't, subscribe for more tech, coding, and career-related videos. I mean, I'm sitting in the middle of a park here. People are looking at me, and I'm filming for you. So give me some love, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and also let me know down below what other questions you have. I make these videos for you based on what you want to hear. So leave in the comments, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks, everyone.